Missouri, Tennessee. Tennessee 21-point home favorites, 21.5, I believe, in some spots as well here. 57 the total in this game. What are we going to get from Tennessee? That was humbling. They thought they were good enough to, at the very least, compete with Georgia. Maybe not win the game because it was, look, all their big wins were at home, Kentucky and Alabama. Those 2 wins for Tennessee were at home, but they thought they were good enough to compete at least. And it looked like men against boys. I mean, it was just all Georgia. In fact, the final score was a little bit flattering. I think Georgia kind of, took their foot off the gas with the lead, the comfortable lead in the fourth quarter, 27-13, but it was all Georgia. They ended up with 387 total yards, holding this Tennessee offense, which runs snaps the football and the number of plays they run every game to less than 300 total yards. Tells you how damn good Georgia's defense played last week. It was absolutely a terrific performance, no question. I don't know what you get from Tennessee. The Tennessee's A game could, if they're fired up, they play their A game here, they could roll Missouri. But Missouri's been the epitome of a tough out. And even though I lost with Missouri in a pick'em last week against Kentucky, they lost by 4. They were down much early in that game, but they kept battling back and, took that game down to the wire, fell short. But you look at them in SEC play, 4-point loss to Kentucky, 7-point loss to Florida, 4-point loss at home to Georgia. Well, there's not much evidence here in conference play of them getting blown out here. And the defense has improved quite a bit for Missouri. Now, their offense is definitely a sore spot. They have not had a very good offensive football team this year compared to years past. Brady Cook's been kind of mediocre at the quarterback spot. In and out they've been of being able to run the football throughout the course of the season. But there's a lot of points for a Tennessee team that I don't exactly know how they're going to respond after just getting kind of humbled by Georgia last week. And suffering that first loss of the season. And that's another angle I don't like, Conor Mack. We saw it with Syracuse against Notre Dame after they lost their first game against Clemson. The first loss for these teams this late in the season. Sometimes it's a bubble burst, and you get them kind of reeling a little bit the next week. So I haven't decided if I'm going to take Missouri, but it's the only way I would bet it sidewise. What do you think, C-Mac?
Yeah, Tennessee, I wasn't kicking myself that I bet Georgia, but that's what I thought could happen in that game, and it did. Watching it, this is a ton of points. There's no way I can take Tennessee here. I got to look the other way with Missouri. As long as the Tennessee defense has been better this year. That's why they've been better. I know that offense gets a lot of the credit, but you talked about Cook. They just had a hard time scoring, and that was the trouble. I think why they didn't win the game against Kentucky, but I'm glad that stayed under. One more touchdown, it would have went over. So I was happy with that in the Missouri-Kentucky game. But I think they get a couple touchdowns here. Let's say even, Tennessee scores 30, 28. I think they cover here. Too many. 3 touchdowns, way too many. Give me the points with Missouri.
Yeah, a little dubious spot for tennis. This is going to tell us a lot. I mean, they should be looking at this season still as we've still got, lots at stake here. When you look at the standings right now, I mean, 4-1 in the conference. Obviously, the East is probably going to go to Georgia now, you would think. So that's the big concern is they're not even going to be able to go to the SEC championship game. They've got to hope they get in as like one of a wild card top 4 in the playoff. How much weight too? What's also something to consider when it comes to Tennessee's still playoff hopes, which are flickering now after that loss. The Alabama win has been devalued by Alabama losing again to LSU on Saturday. So that's now Tennessee's in that position where the playoffs are very much shaky ground.
Yeah. What happens too? What if they lose again? That last spot will go to a 2-loss SEC team, I think. I mean, especially if you have both Ohio State and Michigan in. I mean, a Pac-12 1-loss team be there. So it'll be interesting. You mentioned that the 3 and 4 spot, the 4 spot there.